What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the best melee builds on each character, and they're all going to be solar based builds because of the fact that this season, unlike last season where we had Thundercoil, we now have solar Plexus, which is going to be the same name but for solar melee abilities. So we're going to be looking at all three characters and trying to make the best solar melee build possible with whatever we have available to us. So first, looking at what solar Plexus actually does, as you see right here, without it I hit 4.1 thousand. Now if I go ahead and swap over to a class item with the mod on, it now hits 6.1 thousand, which is going to be a 50% increase, which paired with a lot of other buffs in the game, you can see how this will add up very quickly. So on the Titan build, we're going to use Middle Tree Solar, which is all about the throwing hammer, then also Roaring Flames, where kills with your solar abilities increase those abilities damage, stacks up to 3 times. So looking at exactly what this does and what each stack means in terms of a buff, we hit 6,000 without a buff, times 1, we hit 7.8 thousand, times 2, 10.2 thousand, and finally with times 3, 13.2 thousand. As you see, with a times 3, it goes up to 120% increase, which is actually a lot, and the stacks aren't very linear, it's kind of all over the place and jumps up randomly, as you see right there. The next part of this build will be WORMGOD Caress, which is going to be exotic like Winter's Guile for Titan, where it's going to be up to times 5, and the actual stacks only last 5 seconds, so it's very hard to actually keep this going, but when you do, it's going to result in the highest buff of all these different buffs for the build. As you see right here, it's going to be up to a 650% increase with times 5. So easily the highest buff of the entire build, but also the hardest to maintain and actually get going. And finally, the last part of this build will be 1-2 punch on a shotgun, which is pretty standard for melee builds. Once again, if you don't know what 1-2 punch is, if you land all the pellets in your shotgun shot, increases your melee damage by 200% or 3x damage. So looking at the base damage on Greg with a throwing hammer, it hits exactly 9,872. And if we multiply all the different buffs together, it ends up being 74.25x damage, which means we should hit 732,000 damage on Greg, which is a lot, pretty much the highest of any single combo ever in the game, I believe. I think the other previous builds like this were like in the 400, 500k range, and this should be hitting 730,000. So here we are with times 5 of everything, and sure enough, 731.9 thousand damage, which is a lot. I mean, that's like literally entire reserves of your sniper and GL combined damage. In one single hammer throw, you could outdamage your entire teammate's total reserves of all 3 of their weapons in one hammer, which is just a bit kind of crazy and insane, I guess you could say. Now moving on to the Hunter build, there's going to be a lot less to explain in this build. We're going to be using Middle Tree Solar once again, with the Throwing Knives and Gambler's Dodge, then also this exotic for 2 melee charges. Then in general, I just put strength mods on all 5 armor pieces to get as high as I can, then solar Plexus on top of all that, and this build's pretty easy to do. It's been around for a long time, it's just better now because of the 50% increase of the artifact mod. You throw your 2 knives, dodge to get the 2 knives back, then by then you have times 3 with playing with fire, which means you pretty much could just get your knives very quickly. There's only like a 1 second downtime between throwing your knives, which isn't that bad at all. And just like the previous build, you can also pair this with 1-2 punch on a shotgun for majors, which will easily be able to take out majors in this game. It's not going to be necessarily a great single target damage like the previous build, but that's not what this build is really meant for. It's more so for ad clear and major clear, as you would expect. And finally, on Warlock, I had a lot of fun trying to figure out the best build I could, and I wanted to use the new top tree ADAWNBLADE with the Celestial Fire because of the fact it's ranged, does a lot of damage, and it's just new and cool, right? And apparently it has a lot of aim assist, as you saw in that clip. I was aiming at the thrall and it just completely did a 90-degree turn and hit the shank for whatever reason. But there's a lot going for this build just in the subclass alone. You have Winged Sun, which pretty much means you can use all of your attacks in the air. Then also when you get airborne kills, it recharges your melee ability. So as you see, when you're in the air, every single time you get a kill, you get like roughly 15-20% of your melee charge back. So when you're in the air and you use your melee charge and get a kill, you're going to be getting that first 20% for free. But obviously we're trying to look for an infinite build, and that's where the Season of the Dawn mod comes into play heavy-handed. While Charge with Light, regain half of your melee ability when you use a charged melee ability, consuming 1 stack of Charge with Light, which means we also need another mod that allows us to become Charged with Light. And I use the one that when you get double kills with grenade launchers, you become Charged with Light, then pair that with Martyr's Retribution, which is just an awesome GL. And every 2 kills with this grenade launcher, you get Charged with Light. Then when you use that Charge with Light in the air, as you see, you get like 75-80% of your melee charge right away. So we're getting a lot closer to an infinite build. And pretty much all you need to do is just get another kill in the air and you're good to go, which really isn't that big a deal because of the fact you need to be getting double kills with a GL anyways to keep getting Charged with Light. So that actually works out pretty well. So now that we have the main concept of this build down, what exotics should we use? And this is where I came into a lot of trouble. As you see, the first thought is always to use Winter's Guile for that increased melee damage, but it does not work with this melee attack. So then what else could we use? Well, we could try Claws of Armkara, which will give us another melee charge, and that would make sense too. Help us if we have 2 melee charges, that means we could get the melee charge back even quicker. But as you see, the second melee charge of this exotic does not consume a stack of charge with light, which is probably a bug and defeats the entire purpose of having 2 melee charges. If the second one doesn't even work with the entire build, why should you even use that? Which left me using KARNSTEIN armlets, which will give you health back on melee kill, then also give you like a momentum running type effect for 8 seconds after that melee kill also. And that's where this build ended up. It's actually a lot easier than you think to keep this build going, especially in the real world where there's gonna be multiple adds around, not just getting a single kill at a time like I am in the Tribute Hall. So every time I shoot my GL like in a strike or whatever, I'm probably gonna be proccing the multi-kill and getting charged with light. Then every single time I use my melee, I'm probably going to be getting 2 or 3 kills with the melee. So I'm going to get the next melee charge back right away. And so it's a lot easier when you're going to be getting multi-kills at a time compared to the single kills I was getting in the Tribute Hall. So I actually really like all 3 of these melee builds. The Titan one is absolutely insane. Really good single target damage. Pretty good ad clear. You do have to go around and chase down your hammer and also keep up WORMGOD Crest perk, which is kind of hard, but you can also use your regular melee ability to keep that perk going. It doesn't have to only be the throwing hammer. So if you get good at it, it could be very good for ad clear also, but it's mainly going to be a single target damage type thing. And if you do pull off the full combo, it's probably going to kill anything in the game outside of raid bosses and some strike bosses. Then the Hunter and Warlock builds are more for ad clear. The Hunter build is very easy to pull off and something you can kind of incorporate into any Hunter build in the game. It doesn't need a certain weapon or anything like that. Then the Warlock build, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do and a lot of mods you need to make it work. But if you do them all correctly, it's actually a very fun playstyle. And tomorrow's video will actually be about my favorite Warlock build this season. And it's going to be kind of like this build, but cranked up to like 11. So definitely look out for that. And I think you guys will really enjoy that build. Anyways, these are my 3 favorite melee builds this season with the new artifact mod Solar Plexus. Anyways, try them out and let me know what you think about them. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.